Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Suited Kings podcast. Today, we have episode number 3 of our WSOP Prep series this year, and we have not one but 2 special guests, both who have been on the podcast before. So let's welcome back Arlo Strozewski. Fuck, I don't know.
It's good enough. I'll take it. Yeah, the first one, Strozewski.
Strozewski, yep. And then we've got Mike Wilklow, who actually was the champion of the 1K Mystery Millions last year at the WSOP, which leads us into our topic, if I haven't mentioned it yet. We're going to be discussing mystery bounty strategy, and we're going to kind of walk through some day 1 strategy and then focus a little bit more on day 2 strategy, how you should adjust when playing for these massive bounties. So welcome, guys. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Let me add real quick. If you guys haven't had the chance, each one of these guys, Mike and Arlo, both have their own episodes where we've interviewed them. So make sure to go and check those out after you're done with this episode. They're both really, really good episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's just jump right into it here. So guys, one thing, and Mike, I actually remember we discussed this briefly one time. As you get towards the end of the day 1, and let's set the scene a bit here, because these tournaments, these 2 main mystery bounty tournaments at the WSOP have a really unique structure where you make the money kind of about 3/4 of the way through day 1, and then you play down to, after level 22, it'll be maybe 2, 3, 4, 5% of the field remaining, depending on which. They're both structured a little differently, but not many people will actually make the bounty phase. So, as you get into the money and start approaching the end of day 1, what are some general things, recommendations as far as how you should be playing here?
Yes. So I'm curious to hear what Arlo thinks about this too. I think he might be more theoretically sound than me in this stuff, but this is the way I approach it. I think of it as, so for the mystery bounty bubble, you can basically think of it as once you bag in that tournament, your stack just like immediately more than doubles in value, like ICM value. Just think of like, if you have like 100 players in a tournament and you've got your regular prize pool and you have an average stack, it's going to be worth like about 100th of the regular prize pool. But now immediately you have access to another prize pool that's like actually probably more than the regular prize pool at that point. Because like so many, I don't know how much of the...
Because there are a bunch of people who already cashed and busted.
Right. So I think the bounty prize pool is actually larger on day 2 than the regular prize pool, but I could be wrong. But let's just say it's about the same.
Yeah, I think in the 1K at least they take $300 for the bounty. So,
but how much do they pay out on day 1? Of the regular prize pool?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably about 2/3 of the people who cash, but they're all close to min cashes. So I'm not.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not sure.
It's probably pretty similar. If they take out 300 for the bounty and then 100 for rake or whatever the hell it is,
it's probably like 100.
So anyway, it's roughly like doubling the prize pool that you have access to. So like, whereas like in a regular money bubble, you're risking the value of your stack doesn't really go up once you get into the money. Like it goes up infinitesimally, but you just no longer have that risk of busting, I guess.
Yeah.
In the mystery bounty, the value of your stack goes way up, like as soon as you make it to day 2, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's like the question of on the bounty bubble, like you could either be risk on and like try to build up a stack that can collect bounties, or you could be like risk off and try to preserve your stack and make sure that you bag. And I'm like very firmly on the side of risk off. Like I just approach it as like a regular bubble in a tournament, kind of, where like just assume that you have really high risk premium if you're not a big stack. And that means that like if you are a big stack, you could just get to open any 2 basically. And if you're a middling stack, you have to play super tight and try very hard to get chips in the back, and like there's just a ton of ICM pressure. And that's how I would approach it. And I think because even more so than in like a regular tournament, like your 10 big blind stack in a mystery bounty is worth so much more. Like in a regular tournament, just like, if you have a 10 big blind stack, it's worth like probably a little more than a min cash. I don't know. Maybe you guys can correct me here. Maybe it's worth like twice a min cash or something like that. But
I think it's worth quite a bit more. But
okay.
yeah.
But
I think your point stands. Like,
yeah. So in a mystery bounty tournament, like we'll talk more about it once we get to post bubble, but you're basically like once you get post the bounty bubble, the big stacks are always going to be incentivized to get it in bad against you. And like you're going to find many spots where you can get it in good, and you're going to be a favorite to spin up a stack. So like if you're attempting blind stack in a mystery bounty, I would say that you're actually like a favorite to double at some point, like whereas in a regular tournament, you're like whatever, a coin flip to double. Like, you're gonna get it in and you're gonna hope that you win a flip. But in a mystery bounty, usually you're gonna get it in good,
That makes sense to me. And from my experience as well.
So yeah, I don't know. So I think like the bagging a 10 big blind stack is like super valuable in a mystery bounty. If you get under 8 bigs, then it's like, okay, you probably just need to go with any good hand and try to double up. But that's how I would approach it. I'd basically play like a very scared man on the bubble.
Anything to add?
Yeah. So I think one key concept there that Mike touched on for people who are maybe unfamiliar with mystery bounties is just the fact that as your stack gets shorter, you must be very, very tight. And because you're going to get called so wide in that bounty phase. Now, I know we were kind of talking about pre-bounty phase and in-bounty phase. Pre-bounty phase, yeah, I just treat it like any tournament, really. So just playing like chip EV, if you will, up until the money bubble, and then factoring in some ICM, as you would in a normal tournament. But after that, once the bounties are active, you should be very, very tight as a short stack, because you are going to get called so wide. Like something like even just folding pocket fives when you have 10 big blinds from early position, So there's a thing that I refer to as like resilient hands, or a lot of people do that. And they're going to be like ace highs, king highs, suited,
Okay.
Broadway, stuff like that.
It's literally what Wes and I were just talking about before you guys hopped on the podcast. I was like, those hands like pocket fives where you're just kind of essentially guaranteeing yourself in a coin flip. But I guess then just to clarify, are you saying that when we do have those 10 big blind stacks, it's more valuable for us to be jamming these ace high and king high hands because we'll be 60% equity a lot more frequently?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're going to want to pull from those regions, and it depends on if you're early position or late. Obviously, if you're late, you get to jam a little bit more, but still focusing on the same regions and or like strength of hands.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think so to kind of go off of that, I think something that people misconstrue is thinking like, oh, I'm going to get called off really wide, so like I should shove wider because they're, and if you look at a chip EV pre-flop chart, it's like some of the hands that are barely jams, the reason they're profitable is because they assume, okay, the big blind's going to fold queen 8 off if I shove. But it's like, okay, well, now they're actually not. So our range as a whole makes less money by jamming if we don't pick up that 2.5 big blinds as frequently, even if we are sometimes getting it in not in bad shape with these medium strength hands. So yeah, I think that's an important point. And this is when you are in the bounty phase, as you had said. So
I think it goes both ways a little bit. Like you can jam wider for value for sure. But that's kind of why you pull from the like king high, maybe even some queen high region if you know the guy's just going to call the whole deck. I guess you have to be willing to take on some extra risk. But that's why you do pull from there instead of jamming like 10-8 suited, because you're just going to get called by queen 3 and be actually behind. Whereas if you have king deuce and you get called by queen 3, it's not so bad.
Yeah, so like maybe you can jam any ace and that sort of thing. Like ace 7 off, you could jam earlier position than you normally would, but you don't, like you said, the 10-8 suited, maybe if you're in the cutoff with 9-8 suited. Yeah, like that sort of thing. You're just always getting called if someone has a lot more chips than you behind.
For sure.
That makes sense.
Would you guys jam A7 off early position? I think I would play. I would not be jamming that in early position. Like
I don't think I would be either, but maybe it's incorrect. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few variables. For like 10 bigs, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then also there's the variable to consider, who else you cover at the table. Because even if you have a short stack, there might be a 2 big blind stack behind you yet to act that you can extract a lot of value from by maybe limping your ace high or just min raising it rather than putting your entire stack at risk. So then when they do enter the pot with their 2 big blinds, you're just going to go with it at that point.
Yeah.
I actually have a question real quick, Wes. Jumping back to Arlo mentioning, prior to the bounty phase that he'd play it more so like a normal tournament. Is there any added value in maybe playing a little bit more of a high variance strategy to try and build up a stack so that you can take on more bounty attempts late in the money or in the bounty phase?
Yeah, I mean, certainly having a big stack is more valuable entering the bounty phase. I personally wouldn't, go off the rails trying to build one. I wouldn't try to force it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm kind of comfortable at all of the stacked ups and getting bounties. So yeah,
that makes sense.
That's kind of how I would approach it.
All right.
Well, and I think something Mike alluded to is like, even if we are short, it's going to be way easier to spin up a big stack once we get into the bounty phase. And so it's like, even if we bring 8 big blinds into day 2, like maybe we get lucky and cover 1 or 2 players at our table anyways. But even so, like we could, if we get dealt pocket queens, we could triple or quadruple up, in a fairly, like we should be getting called super wide there. And so like, even if we have that instinct to spin up a big stack, maybe we realize like, okay, we can just do that on day 2 anyways. Like it's maybe not going to be as useful right now. So, I had a question about limping. Arlo, you'd mentioned. So just kind of a generic question about when does limping come into play here? Because, I'm not very good at mystery bounties. I've played some online, a few live, and like I haven't implemented limping maybe once, but I'm just trying to imitate what the top players do. And like maybe it is when there's a 1 big blind stack or something, but
Wes, I'm going to edit that part out where you said mystery bounties, and I'm going to add the word poker in there. So it's just, I'm not good at poker.
Yeah.
Mike, going off that question, did you see any limping on day 2 that you can recall?
I really don't remember it. None of the big hands that I played had limping involved, but I mean, I've definitely seen it online a lot.
For sure.
So
okay.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's a viable strategy. I've never studied it personally, so I guess you get to talk about it.
Yeah, I was just curious because I mean, you do see it a lot. So let me preface this with studying mystery bounties is very difficult because running sims and HRC or something like that requires like a supercomputer if you want to include limps and stuff like that. So from the limited stuff I can run on my own, I have seen limping, and it's mostly just from covered stacks or like medium stacks when there are people you cover behind. So say you have like 25 big blinds, and then people left to act are like 10 big blinds, 12, but then there's like a 60. So you don't really want to put a lot of chips in against that 60 big blind stack. But if one of those short stacks goes, there's a lot of value in hunting their bounty with a semi-reasonable range.
That's actually a nice takeaway. I think that's something people can implement. Because so what you said is if we're kind of a medium stack, we cover some players at the table, but we're covered by others. We can limp and then
and limping doesn't mean we get to go crazy with like limping 6-4 suited, 6-5 suited, stuff like that. We still want to have a strong range. So I kind of just think about it as, hey, I would open, suited 8s from the hijack and offsuit tens. So instead, I'm just going to limp instead of opening. So it's essentially the same range. You just put less chips in the pot.
Really,
Does it make a
assume that
difference?
you would. I assumed you'd get to go like a pip wider if you were limping.
You probably can go a pip or two wider for sure. But yeah, I was just using that as an example off the top of my head. Like, we don't want to go bananas with, some 9-6 offsuit or something.
Do you see in live tournaments that, because obviously we play these online mystery bounties where people are just spazzing. I mean, you'll see all these terrible hands like the 9-6 off call for 20 bigs just to try and smash the bounty. Are we seeing this kind of stuff in live tournaments compared to online? In day twos of like the mystery bounty, for example, or the mystery millions?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we are. Okay.
I mean, it's actually correct in a lot of spots.
That's what I was going to ask too. Is like, and which one is correct?
Yeah.
I think there is an important contrast to call out too between online mystery bounties and live. Like Wes mentioned at the start, the 1K last year and this year will take 300 to the bounty pool, which is like 30% of the buy-in, whatever. Whereas online, it's typically always 50% of the buy-in. So your bounties are going to be quite a bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. They're going to be better online or
more
worth
valuable.
Yeah. Thank you. Brain fart. They're going to be more valuable online.
So do you guys remember how many players there were in the mystery bounty for day 2 last year? I don't.
I have.
Yeah.
Is it like 1,200 or something? I remember
1,000.
Yeah. Like, so I remember the year before that I made day 2. It was a quick showing for me. It was like 900 and the field was a little smaller than last year. So yeah, because Mike, there were like 19,000 entries, right? And I want to say,
but that sounds right to me. But I'm just thinking like there were $2 million bounties. So
yeah.
The bounty prize pool was at least $3 million. It was probably more like $5 million, and you've got 1,000 people to split that. That's like, I guess that's like 5K average bounty, right?
Yeah, you're right on, Mike. So last year's numbers, there were 19,000 entries, 1,000 made day 2, and there was a 5.9 million mystery bounty pool.
So you'd have and I mean 6K average bounty or something. That's like six starting stacks. Actually, it's like 7 starting stacks if you take rake out and stuff. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Right.
Actually,
I think
even more because you take the bounty prize pool out, right? So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. The issue with it is the big blind level that you enter at. So you enter at like 40K big blind, which is 1 starting stack. So
it's like 10 big blinds, I guess. If it's 10 starting stacks, it's like 10 big blinds.
Right. So I mean, maybe it's helpful to talk about the one bounty formula you need for mystery bounties.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go over it.
Which is, so there's a few numbers you need to know. 1, total buy-in. You need to know starting stack, how much that was. You need to know number of players remaining, big blind level, and amount of the prize pool remaining. So right when we roll into day 2, your bounty prize pool is going to be like 5.5 million, if I had to guess. And then your players remaining is going to be 1,000, and your buy-in is 550, I guess, for the little one this year. But we can use the 1K one as well.
Let's use the big one because I think the little one has a shorter starting stack and will have a smaller percentage.
It does, yeah.
There's also the math that I've been told is that you only include the regular prize pool portion of the buy-in in the math. So like
only the regular?
Yeah.
So like the way
it's like a starting stack. If there's $600 goes to the regular prize pool, then your starting stack is worth $600.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the way I look at it is that I use the whole buy-in and the whole starting stack just because the accumulation of chips is still valuable, even outside of the bounty, if that makes sense. Like there still is a regular prize pool to play for. So that way I just take the total chips so it accounts for both the bounty prize pool and the regular prize pool. So I guess the formula I have is
two different
current current bounty pool divided by players remaining divided by buy-in, and then to convert it to big blinds. So that would give you your average bounty of like whatever we said, 5,500. And then to get it to big blinds, you just multiply it by starting stack over big blind level, which in this case is going to be 1-to-1 for the 1K.
That makes sense. Okay, so let's put this into a practical setting. Let's say I bag. We'll say it's the 1K. Even though I'm not playing it, we'll say I bag like 20 bigs. Right, I'm coming back and I have 20 bigs on day 2. And very first hand, it folds to the button who shoves 10 big blinds, small blind folds. I'm in the big blind. What range am I calling off for half my stack here?
Yeah.
I think it's any two, probably.
Is it kind of any two?
You're calling 10 to win 30, right? So
Yeah,
right.
I'm basically getting better than 2 to 1.
Yeah, maybe it's not any two, I guess, but it's
You're gonna need
pretty close.
like around 30%, right? And it shouldn't come into effect that it's half your stack, right? I think the important thing to think about is like, hey, we cover this player. No matter by how much, we have access to the bounty pool now because we cover them.
Mhm.
So you should think about it like, oh, they jammed 10. So like Mike said, I'm calling 9 to win 30. I need 31% equity now. Yeah, that's with the bounty.
9 to win 31.5 probably is.
Yeah, so you'll need 30% equity. And constructing like calling ranges is a little bit more complicated of a topic, but just a general rule of thumb is you're going to take like all your ace highs, suited and offsuit, all your king highs, some of your better offsuit queen highs. So there's, I guess, a good rule of thumb could be like suited eights. So anything like jack 8, queen 8, king 8, 10 8, you're going to call, and then everything above that. And then like offsuit nines. So like 10 9 offsuit, jack 9 offsuit. And then all your ace highs and king highs are just doing too well as well.
Sure.
So you can expand there.
You wouldn't call with I'm like I think I would call like 5-4 suited. Maybe that, do you think that's bad?
If it depends, I wouldn't call 5-4 suited if I had 20 bigs, I don't think. So that's kind of getting into a concept as well where like future game where like if I call and lose this, how many people will I still cover?
Yeah.
And then if it makes you the shorty, it kind of flips things on its head. So I don't think I would call that wide personally. I would call like all pairs though. Like
I think that's important.
deuces.
Very important to bring up though is like if you are calling in the spot to recognize after the hand, if you are to lose, what the situation will look like from there as well. Like, am I still covering stacks or not? Do I still have access to the bounty pool?
And it goes both ways too. I think if you're going to win the hand, and what your position looks like if you win the hand, you have to also think about that side of
Am I
things
now
rather
covering
than
more
just
people?
the negative, right?
Yeah.
Or if like this is the only person at the table that I cover, then Mike, I might consider the 5-4 suited a little bit more.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, how small does the jam have to be before you think it's like if we say that the bounty is worth 10 big blinds, like what's the smallest jam where you're any two in the big blind? Or sorry, the
you know, actually this might be one because I don't think that 31% like just pot odds directly accounts for any risk premium, which in mystery bounty tournaments will be negative if you're the covering stack. So you'll actually need 12% or something less equity to call, making it 18%, meaning you get to call any two cards. So
yeah.
So maybe it does matter a little bit, like how much of a portion of your stack it is.
Do you want to explain that? Because you lost me there too.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
So like you know how
negative risk premium.
Yeah. So like you're familiar with like bubble play in like ICM. Like there's 10 left, 9 paid. Like I need 15% more equity to stack off versus that player who covers me, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it works a little bit in reverse in the mystery bounties when we cover. I don't have an example up right now, but if you're a covering stack, you'll experience anywhere from -5% to -22% equity needed to call.
And this is because we're like pulling money into the prize pool, basically, right? So
Yeah.
But is
exactly.
that already accounted for by the fact that we're basically putting in an extra 10 big blinds into the pot?
It I see. That's where I don't know for sure if it accounts for the bounty value going into the pot. I don't
Mhm.
think it does. So I think it's additional off the top, which is weird. But there's no way that like a sim would tell you where all the numbers are coming from. I don't think. So I'd have to
Sure.
look at it a little bit.
Okay.
And sorry for
It's
not having
yeah,
like a
no,
straight
that may
answer.
I would
No,
say
but
it's probably close anyway. Like it's going to be right around 10 big blinds. Maybe it's
Mhm.
8. You know, I
And
don't know.
if the bounty's worth more as well, if the bounty's worth 20 big blinds, then you're certainly without a thought any 2 cards. Yeah.
yeah, and that's a good, like imagine you're a ways into day 2 and a third of the field is left, but both the $1 million bounties and most of the other big bounties are still there. Like that might, I mean, granted the big blinds get bigger too, but it's like
Mhm.
the reward for knocking someone out will get higher. And then on the flip side, it's like the later you make it into the tournament, if the $1 million bounties are off the board, that takes such a huge chunk out of the bounty prize pool where it's like you're getting a little closer to just normal poker at that point.
Can we simplify that then for like, or generalize that for listeners? Like when, what's an easy way for someone who's not as excelled in math to kind of have a good understanding of when they should be putting it in? And I guess the general, like first thought is if the big bounties are gone, like we can tighten up our calling off ranges versus if the big bounties are still in there, we can widen them. I mean, is it as
Yeah,
simple as that?
I think you should do the math before day 2 of like, this is how many chips a average bounty is worth. And like, we kind of gave 2 different ways to calculate that. So pick your poison. I don't know. But,
Yeah.
if you determine that a bounty is worth at the start of day 2, 200,000 chips, say, but maybe that's low. I guess, but it's probably more like
If it would be
300,000.
400,000 the
Okay.
way we're doing it.
Sure. So say it's worth 400,000 chips.
Yeah.
Like like I just would just do fuzzy math throughout the day of like if the big bounties are getting pulled at like a decent pace, and then we think that the average bounty stays the same, then it's still worth 400,000 chips. And as the blind levels go up, that's fewer and fewer big blinds, and it becomes less relevant. But if the big bounties get pulled early, then you would just like do fuzzy math and say, okay, maybe it's worth like 200,000 chips now, and just like lower it from where you started or
Fuzzy
raise.
math is right where I lay.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to approach it. Like, and I think a helpful kind of thing to lean on is just, hey, are the top 5 biggest bounties gone? Because that will really be a significant part of the bounty prize pool, all
Yep.
in the top 5.
Yep.
It still is a bounty tournament, so bounties are gonna have value all the way till the end. It's just not going to be as much. So coming in, I think, like Mike said, do some rough math. It'll probably be like 9 or 10 big blinds worth, with all the big bounties available. And then after that, when those top 5 are gone, you can safely probably reduce it to like 3 or 4 big blinds, like you would in a black chip bounty tournament, at Canterbury.
So you're saying,
Sure.
just to clarify, you're saying that it'd be an additional 9 to 10 bigs on top of what you're already winning from the opponent if you win the hand. Is that, or am I misunderstanding?
Yeah. So their chip stack plus
The
an
bounty.
imaginary 10 big
Gotcha.
blinds that are the bounty
Yeah.
value. Yep.
That makes sense.
And when we say 10 big blinds, that's on the first level of day 2 because
So 400K.
yeah, it'll really just be 400K chips, like 10K start. So once the big blind is 80K, it's just 5 big blinds extra
Yep.
at that point. And okay. And so to be clear to the listeners, like this is complicated stuff. Like there are no easy answers in a lot of these spots. There's so much at play. But okay, so let's flip that same example, the 10 big blinds from the button. Let's say it folds to us and we have 10 big blinds on the button, and we'll say small blind and big blinds each have like 20-ish big blinds. What is our jamming range going to look like here? And yeah, how does that compare to a normal chip EV situation?
I mean, personally, I'm taking suited 9s. So when I guess from the button, We can probably take suited 8s. And when I say that, I don't mean like 8-6 suited. I mean like
Mhm.
8 is the lowest card and everything above that goes. So
Yep.
like 9-8 suited would be the absolute worst, but I might skip that one just because it's 9 high. And then I'm going to take offsuit 9s. So like king 9, queen 9, jack 9.
Makes sense.
Okay.
And then a lot of ace highs, like almost all
Yeah.
of them.
Probably all.
And then like king 5 suited. Yeah.
Would you still
Okay.
be
And all
jamming like
pairs.
9-8 and 10-8? I probably wouldn't, I guess, because I just think
Right.
we're always getting called. And
Yeah, you can skip out on those like we talked
yeah,
about earlier.
was that what you said? Yeah.
But something like all pairs, if you want to min raise aces and keep people in, sure, like do that if you think
Yeah.
that that's going to be the way. But
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even
Is-
really have to. 'Cause it's just you're almost
I
getting
know it's tricky.
100%. I guess if they're both 20 big blinds, you might have some fold equity, but
Mhm.
uh, not much.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's say they each have, like, let's say both of them have over 40 bigs, then like at that point, we probably, I guess maybe from the button, it's not as big of a concern. But let's say we had 15 bigs and they both had 40. Actually, this is a better example because then it's like, do we have much of a min raising range here?
I
How?
think that depends on your style of play. Like if you aren't, I don't know, if you're comfortable with tough decisions post flop, you can have a min raising range. I mean, the covering stacks are incentivized to call more in all nodes of the game tree. So whether that be post flop, pre flop, they're going to call more and raise more post flop against
Mhm.
a covered stack. So if you're okay in those uncomfortable spots, then have at it, min raise, maybe get some more value where you can. But I think jamming is also an acceptable route because you still will get called by worse, even with hands like Queen Jack, King Jack, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess we're also like really focused. It sounds like we're talking mostly about like the first level of day two, basically. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
We're
when
going to move
like
forward. From that.
bounties
Yeah.
are in play. Yeah.
it's really like doesn't take that long into the bounty period where like you're definitely going to want to have a raising range. I don't know. Maybe like right out of the gate you could just play pure jam, I guess. But
Yeah. In terms of later on day two of that tournament, so Mike, like, did you notice, were there people who you noticed were just playing really badly? People always play badly sometimes, but like,
Especially at WS. I mean, well, any live event. Let's be real.
yeah. Was there any sort of exploits you noticed that were kind of particular to this tournament and how people played?
not off the top of my head, no. But I would just say that this is like it's probably going to be the softest day three field of any tournament at the World Series because like it's already like a very rec heavy field, and then there's just so much variance in the bounty play
Mhm.
that like Alex Foxen, he's just gonna have to get it in, like
Yeah.
chasing a bounty and he's gonna bust, like the
Yeah.
good players are not gonna survive at the same clip as they would in a normal tournament.
Yep. No, that's a really good point.
At what point do we start factoring in like the ICM versus the bounties? Like, is that just when the pay jumps get to a specific point, like when we're getting?
I would say like halfway through. Well, actually, I mean, it depends if the big bounties get pulled, I guess. Last year, the big bounties got pulled
For
pretty
sure.
early. So,
Yeah.
like, by halfway
Yeah.
through day two, it was just like I wasn't even thinking about bounties anymore. So,
Yeah, that's kind of heartbreaking, isn't it? Though, like when you see those
yeah,
big bounties pull, and you're
you,
like, all right, now we're just fighting for the prize pool.
you
Like
guys,
it's
you guys should definitely feel bad for me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I won $1 million. Oh, good. Yeah, I will say, I mean, maybe this is a good time to bring up that hand, but I felt pretty disheartened when that 180K bounty got pulled in that 320 championship event.
Yeah. So go through that hand history again.
So this is on Club WPT Gold's champ. It was a 320 buy-in, if I remember correctly. It's they had I don't even know. I'm just going to guess 15 day ones or something over 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even more. I have no idea. They had a lot of day ones. I didn't count them, but I think the field probably was roughly 6 to 7,000. Again, I didn't. They're first off, their like UI is so hard. Like I couldn't. It's just bad. Anyways, I wasn't even sure how many total entries there were, but that's besides the point. We're in day 2. There's roughly 80 players left, probably from 6,000 ish.
Yeah.
I'm actually not involved this hand, but I had roughly, I want to say like 18 to 20 bigs. Anyways, under the gun has 100 bigs. He opens to 2 bigs, middle position on 26 bigs, flats. Button jams 16 bigs. It's the only person I covered jams, and I'm just like, I think I had Jack 4 off or something in the Robbie. Obviously, I just let it go, but it's like, it's kind of disheartening as well. It's like, because I know he's going to get called, and he's the only stack I cover. So either he busts and someone else gets the bounty, or he doubles, and I'm still I'm the shortest stack. But that's besides the point again. So under the gun ends up calling the 16 big jam, and so does the 26 big blind stack, leaving 10-ish behind. I guess we can discuss thoughts on that after the hand's over. I'll just kind of get through the hand. But the flop comes 4, 5, 6 with 1 diamond. Under the gun jams. Middle position, Tank calls off his last 10 bigs. So under the gun has 6, 7 suited. So he's got top pair and an open ender. And then middle position has Queen Jack of diamonds. So 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. I don't remember again what the all-in had at this point. I want to say it was
I think you said ace jack, but
yeah, I think that was an assumption or a guess. I think at this point, I think it was ace jack off. But anyways, under the gun, the turn is the 8 of diamonds, giving under the gun a straight, middle position of a backdoor flush draw. And then the river is the king of diamonds, giving middle position the flush and eliminating the opponent, and taking the $180,000 bounty with it, the highest bounty. Again, back to my first point, like, fuck. Like all of a sudden, I know I'm not getting that bounty anymore. And that was the only person I covered. But secondly, I guess to the more strategic point, what are we thinking of like the Queen Jack of diamonds hand here? I'm assuming the under the gun, as with 100 big blinds, we're just always opening these hands.
Yeah. I actually had one more question too. Like the guy who 3-bet jammed for about 16 bigs, is there a world where we 3-bet to like 9 or 10 bigs and try and force under the gun to re-raise to like isolate essentially? Or is that ever a...
I mean, he could still isolate, couldn't he?
He still could, but
it's more expensive.
He wants to re-raise to get us all in. Because if we leave ourselves 7 big blinds or whatever, we could actually get away from it on like a terrible run out.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, Wes, what you're talking about is like an important concept in bounty tournaments in general. Like PKOs, I know you can like leave 1 chip behind so that players bigger stacks behind you are incentivized to isolate. That way you don't go like 4 or 5 ways to a flop. In mystery bounties, I don't know that it works the same way for sure. I would imagine people are going to make mistakes, and therefore the 100 big blind player actually isolating you would be a good thing for them and for you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like if that guy ever folds Queen Jack suited in a million years, that's great for under the gun. So it's hard to say for sure. I personally wouldn't.
Okay.
As the 15 big blind jammer, just because.
Would you have if the 180K bounty was gone?
What if I would have not all in when there's not a big bounty?
Well, if the big bounties are gone, then you just kind of remove the bounty factor.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. So. Yeah, and anyways, I mean, first off, like heartbreaking for under the gun who turns a straight and and loses $180,000.
When you see the 180, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts though, Mike?
Yeah, we were talking about it before we recorded, and I was thinking I would have folded the Queen Jack suited, and Arlo kind of convinced me that should be a call, I guess. to the jam, I mean, to the 16 big blind jam.
Right.
An overcall.
I mean, do we want to talk about why? I mean, is it something I guess we've already discussed, or do you want to maybe discuss a little bit deeper onto why you're folding it and why he's calling it? And
maybe I just wasn't locked in and thinking about the early position range at when we started talking about it. But yeah, it's like if the under gun is actually just opening any two and then calling any two, then queen jack suited is way ahead of that range. So it probably is too good to fold there.
Yeah.
And I think the key concept to like simplify a little bit is just the value of the bounty is still so high with the top bounty up, because the top bounty is more than first place money in these online tournaments on gold. So, I mean, you can get first place money with 80 people left in the tournament's pretty insane.
Yeah.
So to think about it in that way, but also have the balance of, not going crazy, I think is important. So I think that concept of where value comes from in these tournaments is knocking players out. And you can only do that when you're covering and someone you cover puts their stack at risk.
So maybe the first thought from from the middle position at the queen jack of diamonds should be like, this is for my tournament life, but rather like under the gun is playing such a wide range here and I can still be ahead of that. So this is why we're going to be putting it in.
For sure. There's a little bit of insurance there that he's against two people. He's like, well, even if I don't beat the short stack, maybe I'll still hang on.
Yeah, that's
by
a good
beating
point.
Under the gun.
And he, I mean, like and that's exactly what happened. I mean, he more than doubled up. He tripled, or well, not tripled up, but yeah, he ended up.
I think the other important thing about mystery bounties is just to touch on the fact that they are so high variance, just insane variance structures. So I think for me, it helps to kind of clear the entitlement beforehand and be like, I'm not entitled to pull a big bounty just because they exist and I have chips and I'm in the tournament,
That's super important because it creates this huge emotional factor that I think a lot of people get trapped in.
Yeah. And mystery bounties are certainly the hardest format to disconnect from that, from the emotions, because, it's uncomfortable to play bad hands in spots where you're going to get crushed and lose 75% of the time, even though you're making money by sticking in those bad hands, it's hard to deal with. I don't really have a remedy for it outside of
it's just
understanding
the way it is.
Yeah. We could get Lucky Chewy back on for that part.
But yeah, I think he'd be a good resource.
Yeah. No, I would say that too. Like when I did make the day 2 years ago, I remember I had a spot ace 10 versus ace 5. It was actually perfect. Someone opened, someone jammed. I rejammed ace 10. The opener folded, so there was like dead money. And then the jammer had ace 5. I don't know if it was suited, but he turned a bunch out. Like he turned a flush. I don't know. He rivered a 5. So like, and the dealer started pushing me the pot, and I had to be like, no, goes there.
I've had one bounty opportunity at the Mystery Millions the same year as US 2 years ago, where do you remember this? Oh my God. You were a couple tables from, I want to say I had 19 bigs and my opponent had 19 and a half bigs, and I got an ace king I had ace king versus his ace queen, and I won the all in, and he left he had a half a big behind. So I got all of his chips, but the next person got the bounty. So that was a little heartbreaking.
Yeah. And yeah, I remember because it's like, I remember when I busted that tournament, I was tilted. And it's like, usually when you bust early on a day 2, it's just kind of like, okay, I cashed, but we didn't get close. And like Arlo was alluding to, once you're in the bounty phase, you're always close. Like, you're always live to get the big score. That's right there.
Like that guy who got the 180K, he basically won the tournament. Like when he pulled that bounty.
Yeah, he did. I mean, if you got over, I think first was like 150K or something.
He still gets to try to win the tournament.
Yeah. So, and that's where, like you said, Arlo said, it's like it's hard to detach yourself from that emotional factor. It's crazy. Poker's just insane because like you can just win almost life-changing money or like a life-altering money, you know what I mean, by knocking a player out, and especially in a mystery bout. And I think there's a good part of that too, is because I mean, in terms of the actual poker economy, I think a lot more of, the worst players are going to get more of the money, maybe, in this sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they don't have to win the tournament to get the money. They just have to knock someone out at some point.
And they're more likely to go deep, like Mike was saying, because the best players are still just going to bust.
Chasing bounties, yeah.
Yeah. So, when you see a guy like Mike win a bracelet,
Anybody can do it.
That's rude. There's 19,000 people in it when you won it. That's just insane. That's
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you what it felt like, but you can just go back and listen to his episode. I know essentially like we went through your entire run pretty much. We broke down a ton of hands, if I remember correctly, from that
Yeah, we
tournament.
broke down a bunch of day 2 hands, I think. Yeah.
Arlo, have you had any massive mystery bounty runs? Whether online or
Not in
live?
person. No, I mean, I think the furthest I've got is like 12th at one of the Canterbury 400s.
Okay.
I haven't played much live, so
Yeah.
I that does suck that I don't have the experience that Mike might with playing more. But I'm
But you
hoping.
play them online, right?
Yeah. Play them online quite a bit and haven't had anything
Nothing
go
massive.
my way in them. No, but
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's your guys' preference? I mean, do you guys enjoy mystery bounty tournaments? Outside of obviously the WSOP, are you seeking them, or would you prefer to just play the more vanilla or like classic style, pure style poker?
I mean, I've run really hot online in mystery bounties.
You might be biased.
No, but I mean, even after I won the bracelet, like some of my biggest online scores were in mystery bounties too. I also
Okay.
like pulled a 30K bounty in like $100 tournament. Which was pretty sweet.
Which one was that?
Some ACR tournament.
I remember this. That was this year, right? Or within the last 12 months, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think I've had really good results in the mystery bounties. I don't know. I guess I don't really care that much. I like regular tournaments too. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wouldn't say I like them more or less.
What about you, Arlo?
I think it's funny because I think my results would indicate that I should like regular tournaments more. But the bounty aspect of tournaments just like checks a box in my brain, and I just love playing mystery bounty, PKO, super bounty.
Is it because you get to play more hands? Maybe is it just making
maybe I don't know. Maybe it's like a knocking people out of the tournament thing, like a hyper competitive.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like there's more math.
Actually have an incentive to just like play the fuck you style against people.
Yeah, a little
my
bit.
favorite kind of style of poker, man. Honestly,
a little bit, yeah. But I think I like bounty tournaments a lot, and specifically mystery bounties. I think I do get a little like upset or have an emotional reaction when people are like, "It's the worst format in poker," blah blah blah. And I think that just might be because they don't really understand it that well.
Yeah, I was going to go the opposite approach or take on it and say it's like more of a nerdy, mathy form of tournament where you have to be doing like lots of calculations. And
it is, but it also attracts the people who just want to gamble a lot. I feel like,
yeah,
for sure it does. Yeah, 100% does.
It does scratch that itch.
Yeah. Wes, go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, did you guys want to talk post flop at all? Because we didn't really touch on.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We did that one hand from the 320, but we didn't really discuss much of like general post flop strategy.
Okay.
Like a covered stack or a covering stack.
Do you have any hands from your tournament potentially that could be a good place to start?
No.
Okay.
Well, okay, yeah. So I'll think of an example here. Like, let's just say, we'll have the same exact spot, but as the covering versus the covered. Let's say we have 20 bigs. We open from cutoff, big blind defends. They have like 40 bigs. We get the King 10-3 rainbow flop, which is, one that we're going to pretty much just range bet normally. Would that change at all here since we're the covered stack?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Like,
and then how, what would our c-bet range look like there?
Mike, did you want to just go into like, sorry to cut off the example. Were you just trying to like lay out some general principles for post flop? Or, I mean, we can do both. We can go into the example and we can.
I was, but we can just do it using this example too. So like in general, I was just thinking like, if you're the covered stack, you just you eliminate like all or most of your bluffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause you're just going to get caught. Like basically the covering stack needs so much less equity to continue because they get that additional equity of your bounty that like, you're not going to bluff them off of any hand that has equity,
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, range bet spots become like probably like 50% C bet spots or something like that. I don't know. Just you're not gonna bet with your air anymore.
Yeah.
How does that change with your semi bluffs, like your flush draws and things like that? Are we going to just try and realize our value then instead before we start trying to put chips in? Is that kind of
Yeah, that's what I would think.
yeah?
Yeah.
And then like, well, I mean and then the opposite is true as well. Like the covered stack is just getting a really good price on their bluffs. So they're incentivized to like bluff you with any shred of equity, basically.
That makes
Because
it tough to realize our equity then as well.
yeah, because like the bluff math changes for them too. So like normally the way you would calculate the equity of a bluff is like you have like the times that they fold, you pick up that much of the pot, and then the times that they call, you get like, how much you win when you win and how much you lose when you lose. But now the amount you win when you win is much, much higher. So it just makes your bluffs always like your break even equity on a bluff goes way up. So like if you have a gutter, you can just go ape shit,
Yeah.
you're getting a really good price to bluff. So I don't know. That was my main takeaway is like if you're covered, you don't get to bluff. If you're covered, you're supposed to bluff a lot. But not
Yeah. No,
with
that's
air balls, with some equity. But
yeah. That's a good general way to put it. So like so let's say you're playing against someone who knows that and you are the covering stack. Like does the calculation then change again at all due to the fact that they don't have bluffs in their range?
yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I
where
mean,
it's like go ahead, go ahead.
but I mean, you can just as the covering stack, if they're betting into you, you can be like, okay, they don't have bluffs here, but they should also be betting into you kind of thin for value, like in that spot, like second pair can
Sure.
just go for all in, like or try and get all in, but by the end of the hand or whatever,
Yeah.
Correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Arlo. I don't know, but that's what I would say. I'd say like widen your value range as the covered stack, but as like the covering stack, yeah, we can assume that if they're betting, they have like a pair,
Mhm.
like at least a pair. Like your high card hands are never good. So you can just calculate your equity based on, what you think your outs would be. Like, if your overcards are live plus whatever straight draws, flush draws.
Mhm.
Thoughts, Arlo?
I mean, like I said, it's pretty difficult to like study or for anyone to have the answers in these spots. So I'm sure there are some differences from post flop play in vanilla tournaments to mystery bounties. I think in mystery bounties, like Mike was saying, we do have to be a little bit more maybe selective. Because I, as a covered stack, will still be bluffing. And I think the way I think about it is yes, the covering stack will have, a wider range, but that also makes it harder to defend and a little bit weaker.
Yeah.
So I definitely would still be trying to increase my chip stack, but I would be a little bit more careful in certain scenarios um, than I might be in a regular tournament. So I don't
Yeah.
really have any off the top of my head.
Okay.
Well, one thing I would add too is in live tournaments, a lot of the times we're going to be like most of the people who make day 2 of these mystery bounty tournaments at the World Series are not going to be pros. And so we can still see bet maybe not the full range, but like they're not going to know how aggressive they're supposed to be. Like they're still going to want to fold. They're still going to end up folding more than they should, and we can probably get more bluffs through against them, I would think.
I think
I would be very cautious on like the first level of day 2 with your bluffs
Sure.
personally.
That
I
makes
would
sense.
I
People
would
are going
too.
ham for sure. Yeah.
I think there is too a contrast there between online mystery bounties and live mystery bounties. It seems like people in the live realm, just in general, in all tournaments, are a little bit looser. Um, so that could definitely be the case in mystery bounties that they're even looser than they should be without knowing it because they think, oh, I need to get these big bounties. I need to play a wide variety of hands, which isn't necessarily true, or you can't do it profitably, I should say, in all of the spots.
It's interesting. I was
So-
thinking almost the opposite. Like people in online tournaments play, they're better and they know how to play, whereas like people in live tournaments will still feel really sort of averse to putting in a lot of their chips as an underdog to chase a bounty.
Man. Not on the first level day 2 of Mystery Bounty, man. Chips are flying.
Fair.
They really are. And let me just kind of add to that point, or let me ask a question, I guess, to you guys is what is even the average stack on a day 2 of these tournaments? Because I mean, from what I remember, I mean, it's pretty shallow, isn't there's not even really a lot of post-flop play, isn't it? Isn't it mostly all-ins and calls, especially for the first parts of day 2, maybe until enough stacks fly to build it up?
I think the average stack is about 20 bigs in that tournament right off the bat. And it's obviously when there's a lot of bust outs, the average stack will increase.
Yeah, it'll go way up right at the beginning of day 2. Like there was, I don't remember. We had like last year we paused the clock for forever. I don't know, a long time. It was annoying because like hundreds of people busted out.
They had to clear or fix the tables.
No, they had they had some technology problems with how they were gonna.
Oh,
they had some, like animation running to reveal the bounties that got pulled. And it was slow, and I don't know, but like there were like hundreds of people that bust out immediately. Basically.
I've seen them pause for that too. I guess, and what I was saying too is like the logistics of having to balance tables when that many people are busting at once seems like it could be rather difficult as well.
Well, it shouldn't be when you have an application that manages it, but.
Yeah. Oh, now you're right. Now, well, I guess when I made 2 years ago, they didn't have it, right? Was it new, or was it? When did they add that app? Was it last year? Or the year before?
They had it 2 years ago.
Did they? Okay. So I guess now that they have the app to make it much more, easier for themselves, that makes a lot more sense. Or to kind of organize all that for them.
I don't know. You would think. I don't know.
I don't either. I don't know how the back end of it works, but I mean, it's easy because it tells me right where to go now. So. Do you guys have any last thoughts on mystery bounty tournaments before we start getting to the wrap up? Is there any topics that you guys think we missed or that we could really touch on here?
I think just thinking about post flop too, the thought I had while we were discussing it is that we can probably still get away with using some smaller bet sizes as the covered stack, maybe rather than being like super cautious. You might be able to, I don't know, milk some value in a few spots with like second pair if you're uncomfortable playing the all-in size. Now I know that opens the door for people to, bluff raise you and stuff like that. So it comes with
like you said, you got to be comfortable with that.
But yeah, I think as a general thought, we can probably use some small bet sizes to our advantage in certain situations.
Is there any spots in these day 2s, maybe even I guess early in day 2 when chips are flying, and did we mention this already, or am I forgetting? Like, are we just kind of like, say we have 20 bigs, I know Wes and I mentioned this before, can we just open jam queen knowing we are getting called so wide as like or is that a kind of a hand that we want to just kind of click and try and get more people?
Question. I don't know. I think I wouldn't, but maybe you should. I don't know.
I think if we're going to take a deviation that is that extreme, we should probably do it based on the table. Like if you have a guy with a million chips who's like drunk or something, I don't know,
calling anything.
Then you do you, but that's on you to pick up on what's going on at the table.
That's exactly kind of my thought on it as well. It's like you got to know the opponents of your table, how much they're gambling, et cetera. And then if they are, you can take advantage of it.
And I think maybe that's a big thing to focus on as well for those who might be inexperienced with the, like optimal strategy in a mystery bounty, is just pay attention to your opponents, because you will be able to tell, who's a little bit more passive or who's like crazy playing every hand. And then just capitalize on the things that beat those opponents. So the guys that are playing crazy, show up with a tighter range with more value and beat them that way. Chip away at them. And then the guys that are passive, you can ramp up your aggression against them.
So let's kind of summarize a few of the things that we discussed as we kind of wrap it up here. Now, I guess one of the takeaways is, and we'll kind of skip the whole beginning part where the vanilla part of the tournament, or for lack of a better term, but where the bounty phase starts, is like essentially, specifically when we're a short stack, we kind of want to play a tighter range, and is that right? We want to play kind of a tighter range. But when we do jam our 10 big blinds, for example, we don't want to kind of go with we want to stick with the ace high and king high hands, just so we have more of that equity versus the random hands that are calling. So we're going to be more 60% versus 50%. Am I articulating that well? Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
That's more post bubble, right? Post bounty bubble.
Right, but so that's what
Yes.
I'm saying. Yeah, and that's kind of where we're landing on. So anything once the bounties are in play.
All right. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
you would eliminate all your 3-bet bluffs. Like you just want to have good all-in equity hands.
good. Okay. So yeah, just that makes sense. And now, would you guys mind running through one more time the math behind calculating, the bounties? Arlo, I know you'd mentioned it earlier in that episode.
Mike, you want to give your version? And
Yeah,
so I know you didn't specifically say it. So
we just we have the same formula. It's just like we had a different. I was told to calculate like how much a starting stack is worth in dollars differently. So you'll end up with a different result depending on how you do that. So you calculating the average. First thing is you can find the average bounty at the start of day 2, which is pretty easy. It's just the bounty prize pool divided by the number of remaining players. So it's 1,000 players and there's 5.5 million in the bounty prize pool, then it's $5,500. And then you would try and determine how many starting stacks is that equivalent to. And Arlo gave a method of doing it, which is just $1,000 buy-in, $5,500. That's 5.5 starting stacks. I was taught a way to do it, which is you only calculate the regular prize pool portion of that. So if $600 goes to the regular prize pool, then 5.5 thousand is like 9 starting stacks. So you're going to end up with a different answer depending on how you calculate it. And then, yeah, if you know that say it's 9 starting stacks and starting stacks 20K, I don't know how much starting stack is in that tournament. Then it's 180,000 chips, or if it's 40K, then say it's $360,000 chip, 360,000 chips. And then just, whatever the blind level you're at, if it's 10K big blind, that's 36 big blinds. If it's 20K big blind, that's 18 big blinds,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in the 1K, it's a 40K starting stack, and in the 550, it's 25K, which is interesting because they both have the exact same blind level. So the 25K will just, and they both play 22 levels on day 1. So the 25K starting stack will just have a lot less people making it through. And then, yeah, anything else, post flop, it's like, is the covering stack, our bluffs just have a lot more value because when we get there, we can win a bounty. As the covered stack, we have so much less fold equity that we're mainly just c-betting for value.
Unless you're Arlo.
Unless you're Arlo. This is maybe not the biggest point. We didn't touch on it, but in these tournaments, the min cash that you can get on day 1 is going to be a lot smaller than a min cash in a normal tournament. So making the money is a little less important, but
it's usually just you're buying back or something around there, right?
It last year it was like, because they've upped the min cash in every tournament. So most tournaments, the min cash is now 2x at the WSOP. For these, it was like 1.3. I think like 1,300 for the 1K.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really the bounty bubble that matters in these tournaments more than the min cash bubble.
Okay. Yeah. What any last thoughts or summaries that we missed that we talked about?
I liked what Arlo said about how you don't want to like don't come in feeling like you're entitled to a big bounty or something. Like it can be I think the emotional swing of like, maybe you have a shot at a bounty, or maybe you pull a bounty, but it's a min bounty, and your expectation could be sky high, and maybe just like manage your own expectations a bit, I think is a good way to put it.
It's pretty sick. We've had 2 Minnesotans take $2 million out of that prize pool in the last 2 years, right? Or 3 years. something like
Yeah,
that.
2 years. Like DJ pulled $1 million. Well, and people don't know this, but the first year they had that tournament in 2022, a Minnesotan won the tournament that year too.
I heard that, but he's like from Rochester or something. I wasn't familiar with his name.
No one knows who he is.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar. That's actually insane. What I guess is a good time to kind of talk to Mike and Arlo. What's your guys' plans? You going to the WSOP? Are you going to be firing a big schedule, a little one? What's it look like?
Yeah, I'll be there all summer. Focusing mostly on lower buy-in, low and mid stakes buy-in tournaments, hold'em and mixed. And I haven't made any sort of schedule. I'm just like flying by
Going
the
with the
seat of my
flow.
pants, I guess.
Awesome.
That's the phrase.
Is there any event that you're specifically looking forward to besides the main event?
The main for sure. I'm kind of looking forward to the 11-game championship at Orleans.
Okay,
Okay.
nice. What
That
about the
sounds like a lot
50K
of fun.
PPC or the PPC? Are you gonna try and qualify into that?
Yeah, last year I played a super Sadie and like won a seat to a Sadie, and then I didn't win a seat to the PPC. But I'll probably fire that something like that again. I don't know.
That'd be so sick to sweat you in that. What about you,
Yeah.
Arlo?
I'll be making 2 trips out there is the plan right now. So the first one will be first week of June, I believe, for like Monster Stack,
Yep.
and a couple other tournaments around there. I think my focus will be on WSOP itself. I don't think I'll be going to any side events unless maybe there's a PKO because I go crazy for those, like at the Win or something. But I'll have to
Okay.
look at the other stuff because I haven't. But then I'll be out there as well for the main the first week of July.
Okay.
And I'll probably be selling some action too if people
Okay.
want.
Is there a
or are
place where they can
interested.
find you? Are you going to post on Twitter or anything like that?
I mean,
Or maybe our
I might
Discord?
just post on Twitter. I'm
Okay.
in Suited Kings. I think my Twitter is just Arlo Stro STRO.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Keep an eye out, guys. If you're not familiar with Arlo personally, maybe check out his Twitter or in our Discord. You might find some action to be sold there. Obviously, it's clear that Mike and Arlo are crushers. So if you guys are interested in purchasing some of those packages, if they are available, just look in those spots for them.
I think I also might change up. Sorry for cutting you off. I think I might change up my plans too. If the first week in June goes well, like if I rip off a bracelet or something, I might stick around for the whole summer.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I will say I got to play my first live tournament in 2 months this week, and it didn't go well. I fired 3 at the MSPT. That's okay. I only got to play 1 flight, but it was a good time to get to play, and I probably will have a very limited, if any, schedule at the WSOP this summer. Hopefully, the main event is my goal right now. So we'll see. Obviously, due to my son being born, so give me some. As I said to all of our other guests so far, give me something to sweat, please, because I'll be watching everything the entire summer. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I expect a lot of deep runs from Minnesotans this year.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we usually get them too. There's no doubt. I mean, mixed and mixed and no limit alike. We see a lot of good players out there from Minnesota. Wes, you want to spitball some of our wrap up stuff?
Oh yeah, guys! If you have not done so, join our Discord. We have maybe 370 people in there now, something like that.
Yep, it's a great place for you to talk shit to Wes. Make sure to hop in.
Talk shit to me. Talk shit to Max. Discuss hand breakdowns if you're curious about if you punted or not, whatever it is. A lot of good discussions going on in there every day. So there's a link on the Suited Kings Twitter to join that.
I just repinned it. I forgot that it hadn't been pinned for a minute. So yeah, check out the Suited Kings Twitter at the top there. You'll find access to the Discord.
Solid. Tilted Compass, guys, we have some awesome merch. I mean, I think it's lucky. I guess to be fair, I've kind of worn the Suited Kings merch on every day too. So obviously,
congrats, by the way, on your back-to-back MSPT final tables.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a fun one. I just ran, like I coolered so many people on day 1, and then I just ran super well on all-ins day 2 until I didn't. Oh yeah, I did cooler Mike. Yeah.
What can we hear?
That's not even the one I was thinking of.
I want to hear it. Let's hear it.
He opened, I don't remember the positions. He opened, he was on my direct right. I called with 8-7 of spades. Someone else, one of the blinds was in the pot. It came king 8-3, 2 spades, so pair flush draw.
I think the king of spades on the board too.
Yep. Yeah. So king of spades, 3 of spades, offsuit 8. He c-bet smallish. I called, the other guy folded. The turn was an offsuit jack, and he bet pot. He bet like 15K, and I think it was into 14.5.
You just have King
I
Jack here,
called.
Mike.
No, and then so river is the queen of spades, so I get the flush.
Oh, okay.
Mike jams. Maybe it was maybe a slight over bet, but yeah. And I call it off, and he's like, "You got a flush?" And I said, "Yep." And he had ace 10, ace of spades. So he not only did he river the
gotcha.
straight, but he had the ace of
The
spades
blocker.
blocker too. So
Yeah.
there were only like maybe 5 combos of flushes I could have.
That's the get paid card, Wes, the river.
That is honestly though, it may have been any spade because I think he's barreling off a river
With the-
spade.
Yeah, I for sure would have bluffed any spade there. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I was just like, man, how do you have a fucking flush here? Sorry, am I not supposed to curse on the
No,
podcast?
I think we said that word a few times on this
Yeah.
episode. It's okay.
Like I have the ace in my hand, the king's on the board, like
And the queen's on the board.
yeah, the
Like,
queen was on the river, yeah. So it's just like
Yeah.
what hands are you flatting pre-flop that are flushes here? You know?
That makes sense.
yeah, it's like Jack 10, Jack 9, 10 9 turned to straight draw, and then 9 8 7 8, I guess.
Nice.
But yeah,
nice.
it's like so much of my range is just not a flush.
Also, I do apologize. Our club's meetup game last night did not run. But it will 2 weeks from now. Wes, what's the date? You got that one locked?
I think that is May 5th.
We are going to be firing it up. Let's make it a big one. Hop in there.
Yeah.
Mike, you going to join that one?
Your meetup games?
Yeah, next 2 weeks from today. Yesterday.
Probably, yeah. Sure.
All right, cool. Hop in there. Arlo, hope to see you too. I'm not sure if you've been in there yet, but if you have you been in there?
I think I won like the first one I played, but I haven't played much else.
He quit while on top. That's actually pretty smart. It's like I said, guys. It's a safe place to punt. So if you want to go and just blast off your chips, Wes and I will be joining you. There's no doubt. There'll be a lot of 7 deuce all-ins, getting called by 8-3 offs, etc.
Yeah, there's no mystery bounty. We just played that way early in the tournament. So yeah, you use the link in the description for that. We'll also have a link to Tilted Compass. They make a lot of great stuff, including our Suited Kings merch.
Yeah, sweet poker backpacks, hoodies, all that good stuff. It's keep warm in the cold areas of the WSOP. I'll also put a link to Mike and Arlo's Twitter. So if you guys want to follow them, make sure to check them out. They're both in the Discord as well. So if you have questions for them in regard to the episode or whatever, just shoot them in the Discord. Am I missing anything, Wes?
Should be it.
Guys, Mike and Arlo, I hope you guys make some deep runs this summer. It'll be exciting to sweat you guys.
Me too.
Yeah. I hope that too.
Yeah. And maybe, it's just both of you guys the second time on the pod. Let's make it a third not too long from now. Okay. How's that sound?
Do it.
All right. Well, guys, appreciate your time. Everybody listening, rather. Hope you have a good time on the felt. Good luck this weekend. Make some money, and we'll see you guys soon.